James Sorensen wants to know, are there any pickle rib stories? I don't know why this is a thing, but Bruce has this irrational fear of pickles. I've had a lot of fun ribbing him with pickles, and he's even told the story about the Undertaker and cucumbers and Owen Hart and his boots. But do you have any fun pickle Bruce stories?
No, because Bruce is a weird dude. I mean, I love Bruce, and I only have a few close friends, and I got Ron Simmons, of course, Gerald Briscoe, and Bruce Prichard. I really call close friends, and I call you a close friend, Conrad. But Bruce, he's one of my dear friends. I never understood this. I never know. He's just who the fuck's scared of pickles?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense at all.
This is a guy who's in like 18 karate Hall of Fames, which I'm calling bullshit on that, but too, by the way. But he's scared of pickles. This is like a kid being scared of a boogeyman in his closet or something. This makes zero sense to me. Bruce is a quirky dude, and you know that. You know this for a fact. Bruce makes J-Lo look normal as far as being a diva.
Bruce is very diva-like. I'll agree with that. Silva's not on camera, but he motion passes. We agree. Hey, I do want to ask you about Mr. Fuji. You said earlier you were scared to death of him.
Yeah,
there
horrified.
is a famous wrestling story. You know which one I'm going to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time, Fuji fed a man his own dog. Have you heard that story? That can't be real.
100%. Yeah, and I don't know if it's true or not. I don't doubt it. I do not doubt it at all. That's why they come up with Al Snow being fed his own dog Pepper by Big Boss Man on TV. It was because of the Fuji. That's what it's based off of. Yeah, everybody thought this story was real, and I don't know if it is or not, but everybody assumed this story was real. Fuji would sit there, and Fuji was the nicest man, but he was freaking evil. And I mean, in a good way. You loved him. I was scared to death of him. I didn't even want to put my bag near him. I didn't want to sit near him. I was scared to death of him. He's the only guy that I looked at and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to let this man get me because he is freaking evil.
I want to ask you.
You know what's strange about that? In a weird way, you guys loved him for that. I mean, it wasn't like he was a bad guy. He was a good guy. He just loved to rib people, and I thought he's going to get me. And what am I going to do back? Do something to Fuji? So I have no recourse here.
I want to get your take on something that happened over the weekend. You may have actually even been there. There was a big autograph signing over the weekend where lots of wrestling Hall of Famers and legends and even some of the top current stars were there this past weekend. And there's a clip that went kind of viral over the weekend where a fan asked MJF to autograph or at least take a photo with the WWE red title, the old red championship, big logo world title. And MJF took the picture awkwardly and then threw the belt on the floor. And a lot of fans are upset. But you just said a minute ago, and you gave kudos and props to the Paul brothers and certainly Floyd for keeping character. What do you make of MJF this past weekend? Did you think that was cool? Or did you appreciate that? Or do you understand the outrage that's seemingly happening online?
Yeah, I saw it. I was sitting right beside him. So I saw it. We were at for MCW, and Kevin Nash couldn't make it. And so they asked me to come fill in at the last moment. James Ellsworth called and asked me I'd come fill in because it wasn't that far from the house here. So I drove up to Joppa, Missouri to do the show. I was sitting right by him when he did it. I have zero issue with it. Zero. And these snowflakes that want to bitch about that, grow up. Give me a fucking break. I mean, this is crazy to me. You guys want these guys to be heels. And then when they are heels, you bitch about it. You cry. Like, oh, they're supposed to be nice to me. They're supposed to let me in on it. No, they're not. Who are you? Who are you to that all of a sudden this wrestler who's you're going to tell all your buddies. Now, understand this. When you have guys come to an autograph session like this, these are your hardcore fans. They're going to tell everybody how you interact with them. So if you have MJF here and all of a sudden he goes, oh, man, that's all just a show. Don't worry about it. Great to see you. How are your kids? All of a sudden, he's going to tell everybody. It's going to hurt MJF. Enough people like that. You want to stay. These fans talk about there aren't any good heels anymore, and you got a guy being a heel, and you bitch about it because you're a snowflake. Cry me a river. I mean, I got no sympathy for the fans who have a problem with this. You want this guy to be who he is. If I got the opportunity to meet John Wayne, I would love to have done that. Larry Hagman, he used to wear his cowboy hat everywhere. He wasn't a cowboy, but he played J.R. Ewing. And so when he would go through airports, he'd want people to see, oh, my God, there's J.R. Ewing. He wasn't a cowboy, but he wanted people to have that experience. You want people to have that experience of what they are. So if MJF is wrestling somebody going forward, whoever it might be, John Moxley, Daniel Bryan, if he comes out, whatever, whoever it might be, you want to give them the opportunity to hate him. And you don't give them that opportunity if you lift that veil and just let them behind it and say, oh, it's all just a show. So I have absolutely no issue with what I saw it. I have absolutely no issue with it. And these snowflakes that want to bitch about it, cry me a river.
And that is this week's Stiff Shot from JBL. Speaking of working stiff, if you'd like to do that, can we recommend Blue Chew? Hey, speaking of chewing, Coach Rosie's with us here live from adfreeshows.com, and he says, is Bruce good at chewing people out? We've all heard very Vince McMahon meltdowns where he's eating live. Have you seen Bruce do it? How is he at chewing someone out?
Bruce, it's an art almost with Bruce. Yes, he's very good at it. Now, Bruce is usually more diplomatic. Vince would tell you something like, you've just ruined the business. God, you set the business back. I'm glad my father's not alive to see this shit. God almighty, you've killed the business. I mean, Vince would go so over the top. You're like, oh, come on. I didn't kill the business. There was a tag team Ding Dong in the early 90s. I'm not worse than them. You know, it's like, but Bruce would be very diplomatic about it and explain to you why you suck. And it's like the worst dress down ever because he made sense in what he said. He's like, look, this was terrible. And he would start telling you what all you did. And you're like, fuck, he's right. And then he'd go on and on and on. And you're like, oh my God, I should just kill myself right now. I have no reason to live. This is horrible. And so, yeah, Bruce is very good at chewing people out because Bruce is the worst kind of person that would do it. He would think when he's chewing you out. You know, Vince a lot of times just wouldn't think. I mean, he would just tell you he could go way over the top. But Bruce would. He was very good at it.
I got to ask, when we're talking about your career in the WWF, after you do the Justin Hawk Bradshaw, we see you as the new Blackjacks. And I've told you before, I absolutely love that tag team and felt like it was just a right team at the wrong time. I don't know why it didn't hit, but I loved it as a kid. Was that an idea that Bruce was in favor of? How do you remember being pitched the new Blackjacks?
Well, let me tell you a little backstory of this first. When I first came into WWE, I've heard Bruce say on shows, I was a ripoff of Stan Hansen, and he is correct. But there's a reason for that. When I came into WWE, Chief Jay pulled me aside and goes, "Hey, we want you to wrestle like Stan Hansen." I said, "Okay, I know how to do that. I've idolized Stan. I'm happy to work like Stan. Stan's the best." They had me chewing backstage. Lanza knew Stan very well. So they had me chewing during promos, and spitting out. Most of the time it was licorice, so I just wouldn't get sick because it was a huge chaw. I'd spit it all out and be just like Stan. They positioned me exactly like Stan Hansen. I mean, exactly. Told me to wrestle like Stan Hansen. 3 months later, Chief Jay comes to me with Bruce and goes, "Hey, if we wanted Stan Hansen, we'd have got Stan Hansen." So, wait a minute. You guys told me 3 months ago to wrestle just like Stan Hansen. I said, "Well, who do you want me to be like?" They go, "Be like a heel Barry Windham." They never told me to be myself. I'm so confused. I'm in WWE. I'm overwhelmed by 15 TV trucks and this whole thing. I'm thinking like, I'm never going to make it here. I'm never going to make it. And they said, be like a heel Barry Windham. I said, okay. I watched Barry Windham, so I knew exactly how he worked. He's, I'm not as good as he is, but I knew exactly how he did things. So about 2 months later, they bring in Barry Windham. I'm like, what do you want me to do now? So they brought in Barry in the stalker gimmick, which was absolutely horrible. I have no idea why they would try something like that with a guy who hadn't been hurt, would have been the NWA champion forever. He was such a good worker. And then they decided to come up with this blackjack gimmick. And I'm not sure if it was Bruce or Vince. I say Vince Russo or Vince McMahon. I have no idea who came up with it. Bruce is the one that pitched it to me along with Lanza. I went to Lanza first because Jack and I were really good friends. And I said, "Jack, I want to make sure this is okay with you." And I said, "I just want to make sure that you're fine with this." And he goes, "No, kid, it's an honor to have you as a Blackjack." He goes, I'll help you any way I can. And Jack did our first promos for us. That's all I was worried about was that. But it was Bruce that came to me along with Jack Lanza to explain to me the whole character and what we're going to do.